Oh my God, it's getting so exciting here in Canada. Well, I guess you guys have all heard about the Unity Freedom Convoy that's come through all of Canada and had sit itself down in Ottawa and blocked all the streets. And anyhow, I went up to see the truckers, and it was really exciting to see them all. And the energy and the positivity and the unity was just amazing. I know friends that have tears in their eyes because this is happening. It's been such a long haul here in Canada, 2 years in Quebec, where we have basically not been allowed to go anywhere, right? So we can only go to buy our groceries and go to the pharmacy, and no entertainment, no restaurants, no nothing. And it seems like the media and our prime minister, called us racist, misogynist idiots, and that was like the final straw. And I do think it's all a skit, being played out, a script, a skit, because they showed it at the Simpsons. They showed Trudeau sneaking out of the Parliament in 1999, one of the Simpson shows, and also the convoy. So it's all part of the script, but it makes sense to me that it's happening in Canada because of our anthem. It's like True North, Strong and Free, and this call for freedom. And also because our flag is red and white, and that's the rubedo. Now, why is it all happening now? Is because I believe because of this Lilith black moon that's happening tomorrow. And this Lilith black moon, I've tracked it and right back to the founding of the United States. And this is the 13th black moon that's happened since the founding of the United States. So that's really, really esoteric because 13 represents the death, Scorpio. Uh, so that is like, it's the death card, right? So it's like, and that is your freedom. So it's really interesting. It's the death of something that's old and the rebirth of something new. The death card doesn't mean literally dying, it means transforming. It means, uh, yeah, it's transformation. It rules the eighth house, Scorpio, right? So it's really about energies, Kundalini energies, higher consciousness. It's about learning how to heal yourself, because that's also Asclepius is there in the Ophiuchus constellation. That's all about healing, all done through Asclepius, and so it's all about um, a new beginning. So this it's a massive, massive rally, and people are dancing, and there's millions of people there. The city is in gridlock. Okay, but everybody's super happy, and there's vaxxed and unvaxxed. It's just a unity, and that's why I participated in it, because it wasn't about division. It wasn't about being on the pillars. It's about bringing the pillars together. And so that's why, I felt it was a really important thing to go and experience, and it was so uplifting. So I want to go into this Lilith Black Moon and kind of track what's been going on since the founding of the United States, and just show you how it works, the black moon, and what it is. It's actually two new moons in 1 month. Okay, and when you have that, it causes a couple of months to happen in a row. So usually you get like three in a row with two new moons in 1 month, and it's rare. So I went back and tracked that, and I also want to explain some other numerology that ties into the pentagram, and also the moon calendar and the sun calendars. And we're just going to go through all that. It's not a long video, but I just want to kind of show that this Lilith Black Moon is tying into the Malkuth of the Kabbalah tree. This is the most important part because it's representing Saturn, because it's in conjunction with Saturn. So I want to go through all that and show you guys. So Lilith was Adam's first wife, right? And she's really demonized, like she's like, a she-devil, and, really sexual demon and all this. If you go through history, they're trying to really make her seem like she's really, really evil, right? And so I'm starting to like realize everything's like inverted, right, with the truth. And when I started looking into paintings of her and everything, it always seems like there's a snake, and so this is wisdom, and it's basically because she said to Adam, "I don't want to be submissive in a sexual position to you, so therefore I'm leaving, and I'm leaving the garden." Okay, so she's an independent woman that does not want unequality. Okay, so equality represents the Libra constellation, which is justice. And that is also to do with Asteria. I've done videos on her. She was the last Titan that was going around trying to help humanity get back to the golden age when they fell out of it. And she was trying to show them to stop thinking in these decisive ways and to come back to unity. So I'm really thinking this is kind of what's happening because of this black moon. So they're also saying that she's with occultism literature. I know Aleister Crowley named his daughter Lilith, and so horror, and often depicted as a woman fighting for equality and striving for fairness. Okay, so there's always two sides to everything, right? It's two sides to Lilith as well. It's not all bad. It's not all good. Okay, but what I'm trying to see, why is it aligning right now with this black moon? I really think it's an important feature in the sky that has been overlooked, and we need to really understand the importance of these black moons. Why is there 13 of them since the founding of the United States? This because now we got the 13th, which is also like transformation. So it's like everything is aligning. I love the Rossetti paintings. This is of Lilith. Now she has the red string around her wrist. Well, this is the same as Ariadne, who wants to get out of the labyrinth, who wants to get out of the reloop. Okay, now in the background we have roses, we also have a crown, and then we have the two pillar candles, and then it goes into the wilderness, right? So, to me, she's representing Venus in the planets, because there's all different characters of Venus. There's a Venus that wants you to be free, there's the Venus that wants to harvest you, there's, Venus is love, Venus is also balance and justice. So she has many different characters in Venus. But when I looked into some of the poetry, it was tying her symbolism to poppies and roses. So therefore, it's Venus, right? So we know the poppies is Cassiopeia, and she sits in the chair with the mirror, and she also has a mirror in this painting. And she also has is it a white rose? Yeah, a white rose on a stick, right? And so, she is the white goddess. She is the middle part of alchemy, the albedo. So where you're starting to come to the light. We've come out of the Malkuth, and we're coming into the albedo. Okay, which is the Malkuth would be the Nigredo, the first stage of alchemy. So it's really interesting that this is all happening in this time. So the Femme Fatale, this is a painting from 1866, and also did a poem with it, or a sonnet. Of Adam's first wife, Lilith, it is told, the witch he loved before the gift of Eve. So it's like, okay, she's a witch. That ere the snake her sweet tongue could deceive, and her enchanted hair was the first gold. And still she sits young, while the earth is old, and subtly of her contemplative draws men to watch the bright web she can weave, till heart and body and life are in its hold. The rose and poppy are her flower, for where is he not found, O Lilith, whom shed scent, and soft shed kisses, and soft sleep shall snare? Lo, as that youth's eyes burned at thine, so went thy spell through him, and left his straight neck bent, and round his heart one strangling golden hair. Wow. So that's intense, but it's basically Venus. It's, we have the roses and the poppies. So it's always like Venus makes you choose between, um, being harvested, which is kind of going through Taurus. Taurus is, kind of representing the labyrinth where you're just getting kind of re-looped. And then, you can also go through Libra, which is the death symbol, the actual Omega symbol, which really is death in alchemy. and you're fighting for justice, and you're willing to die for that. You're not going to you're going to sacrifice everything for justice because you want balance, you want fairness, you don't want some people to have freedom of choice what to do with their bodies and other people not. So this is really what it's coming down to. It's about, we're not saying no to vaccines. We're saying we want freedom of choice, right? Now, here is where it's really interesting. So the 32nd pentagram that we're in, it started on March 24th, 1766. That was the beginning. It was an inferior Venus-Sun conjunction where she goes retrograde and then she comes behind the Sun. She ends up being Lucifer, and that's where it all started from. Okay, it was happening on the tail of the whale, which is the right fish of Pisces, which is where the little pentagon circlet of Pisces is, which I believe is the crown of Christ. Okay, Dionysus was also there. The moon was in Zavijava, which is the ascension star. Saturn was in conjunction with the Pleiades in Taurus, so this is all really super esoteric placements. And Jupiter was in the Lion's Gate between the two pillars. And Mars and Mercury were in Sagittarius, actually right where Elvis and David Bowie were born. Okay, Bacchus was in Aquarius, so this is like for freedom. And Neptune, which is like your beliefs and also your metaphysical and your ability to heal yourself, also kind of can put you in a fog and make you delusional with your beliefs. So Neptune was in conjunction with Leo, which is right on Regulus, which was represents the crown. Okay. Now, I was listening to an esoteric astrologer, and he was saying, which I had huge suspicion of this, that Neptune is the Christ. Okay, so he represents the Christ in Pisces because it's the spiritual constellation, and he also, in esoteric astrology, he would go with Cancer, the moon, which is the manger of Christ. I've already told you guys that it's the manger of Christ, and that is also to do with your memory, your ancestral memory, your family, the mother's milk. That rules your family house, Cancer, and it's esoteric because it's tied to the memory and to the water, right? Cancer is water. It's the water sign, the moon, and Neptune is the god of the sea. Okay, so you can see how this is all tying in, and this would mean like your armor. Okay, so Cancer represents security, and security means you have a shell on. Okay, so you're untouchable. Okay, so it's also would represent like the shell of the Nacre, which ties into the Misner effect, which is like taking on a charge, and you have like Nacre, like a superconductor around you so you don't get zapped. That all ties into the Mobius strip and the Alice universe theory, quantum theory. But it's really tying into keeping this armor on you, right? And you become the pearl. You're inside the shell. Okay, so that ties to Venus as well. So you can see how it's like it's all layered, but it's the story is, we're getting down to it now, that we're starting to understand who the characters are in the sky and what they really represent. And so we can kind of really see the story now. So we actually just had the 4th point of the 32nd pentagram. So it's like the next one starts the next pentagram, which would be the 33rd one, right? So it's kind of like we finished it. Okay, well, they say the 4th point, but it goes to the next, and that's the beginning of the 33rd. So to me, it's like it's almost finished. So January 9th was the Venus point, right? So we had that, and so now we have this blood moon. So that was between those two dates, 1766 and 2022, this year, is 256 years. Okay, so that's interesting because it ties into other numbers, which I'm going to show you. Okay, so 256 years. And now, when I started looking at eclipses, and we know we have like 4 Captain Cook blood moons, where he was tricking the native people, making him seem like he was like a god, which eventually ended up getting him killed on Valentine's Day, because they thought he was a god, and then his ship broke down, they realized he wasn't a god. So there's only one Captain Cook eclipse, and it was in the Lion's Gate. Okay, and this is all the same as how Jupiter was in the Lion's Gate for the beginning of the Venus pentagrams since the founding of the United States. And so that's the middle path, right? Because you're between the moon pillar and you're between the sun pillar. So you're on the middle path. And this happened on August 5th in 1766. So 1766 was really important. It was the beginning of their pentagrams, and there was this Captain Cook eclipse. Now, if you take that eclipse to the eclipse in October 25th, 2022, again, it's 256 years, right? So the eclipses are lining up to 256 years, and then also the pentagram, right, is finishing up with 256 years. And those numbers add to 13, right? So we have the 13 again showing up. Now, just for fun, I wanted to show you how 32 and 33 are kind of relating to the solar years and the lunar years. Not everybody understands what's so important about the number 33, right? It's the Freemason number. Why? Nobody seems to know why, right? But this is why, because it represents the two pillars. And because when you take a solar year, which is 365 days, this takes 32 years, okay, of 365 days, only 1 year, right? It ends up coming to 11,680 days. Now, if you take 33 years of lunar years, which is less, 354 days is a lunar year for completion, right? With the moon not being a full month of 30 days, it's 27.29. It ends up being 11,682 days. So there's only a difference of 2 days. And that was a 17th weather post. I've said this before. They said there was 2 days difference. And I'm like, okay, so maybe, this is really about the two pillars now. I just wanted to share that with you. And then I also mapped out all the Lilith black moons, the Lilith black moons, and showing you how they're all calculated. But first I want to show you on March 24th, 1766, there was, a conjunction with Venus. She's just starting to go into her inferior conjunction, so she's starting to travel retrograde and getting in the back of the sun, so more to the right of the sun. And then she has to catch up because the planets travel counterclockwise. So then she's behind the sun, straggling behind, and then she has to run after her. This is a very important placement in the sky. Because of the equatorial grid that you can put on Stellarium, you can see the cross section across the North Pole. It creates, 4 cardinal points, right? So one of the cardinal points comes right down by Pegasus and right to the ecliptic where the planets and the sun travel, and it crosses there. So this is exactly where the sun was. And it's kind of interesting because you have the right fish is like riding on Pegasus's back, right? So, we have that symbolism with Jesus riding the horse. And that little pentagon that's on that right fish, it looks like shape, that's called the circlet of Pisces. And I think that's the crown of Christ, right? So this is why the tail of the whale is so important. And we have Neptune there, which is the Christ, right? And that's where he is. He's coming into that location. And he hasn't been there for 165 years, and he's going to do a conjunction with Jupiter there in April 12th, I believe. Yeah, so this is really, really esoteric what's happening. 32 represents this 32 years of the solar, so it's the sun returning, the sun, and then the 32nd pentagram is what we're in, right? So the reason 32 is so important is because on the Kabbalah tree, when you do your inner work and work on yourself, trying to get to the middle path spiritually, there's 32 paths. Okay, so this is all tying into the soul's journey to learning how to let go of the material world, let go of fear, let go of division, and just get to bliss state and trust the higher source, right? This is what this is all about. Whether you like Kabbalah, or you don't like Kabbalah, or you like, one religion, you don't like another religion, These things are all keeping you in division and hate and judgment. They do not allow you to get to the middle path until you release all your beliefs. Let your beliefs fall from the tree because they're just leaves and they blow in the wind. Let go of them and become stable and solid on your middle path with your roots grounded. And it's okay to let go of your beliefs and be the tree, right? And then you can develop new beliefs when they grow back. But you have to let the leaves fall. Okay? And this is really the symbolism of the middle path and the tree of life. When you start researching all these things, it can get really confusing. Like here he's saying here that the moon's month is 29.5 days. But really you need to take the sidereal moon month, which is 27.32, to kind of really see how it's mapping itself and where it's going. So the reason why most months are longer than that and 1 month, February, shorter is because of 12 orbits, the moon is only 354 days. So they got that right. So the 354 is the moon year. But then he says the Earth year is 364 days. Well, most Earth years, calendar, it's 365. So it gets really confusing, but I'm just letting you know. I mapped it out so you can really see it. And when you go on Stellarium, you can really get the accurate thing that's really happening in the sky, because the sky kind of compresses and changes sometimes. Like the math doesn't always come out to be exactly the same. You think it's going to. We think it's going to line up to the calendar exactly perfect, but it doesn't always. So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well. So here's Captain Cook's eclipse, and this is what it looked like in the sky, being in the middle path in the Lion's Gate. Jupiter, Zeus, was on the Regulus star, which is one of the fixed stars right on the shoulder of Leo. Very important alchemic crown there. And then Venus was in Gemini, right between the two. So that kind of is like Mercury rules that house. So Venus and Mercury, which is also to do with alchemy because it's the hermaphrodite. And what's really interesting is the Captain Cook's eclipse in August 5th, 1766 to October 25th, 2022. I said was 256 years, but it's 256 years with 2 months and 20 days. So we get the 2-2, which is the completion of the tarot, right? There's 22 tarot cards, which is also mapping out your path. It's the Fool card. 0 is the Fool card. It's the 22nd card. You have to be the Fool. And you have to just let go of it all. And with the hobo bag on your shoulder, and off you go. So this is the Captain Cook eclipse again. And this is the one that's happening at 5:15, because David Bowie said, the angels leave at 5:15, and the Who did a song on 5:15. And this is getting close to Shambhala, right on the skirt of Virgo at the bottom there. So this is really important. And Mercury, who rules your mind, this is what this is all about, your belief systems in your mind and your service to the tree. And he's right on the Washington Monument star Spica, the harvest star. Okay, so this is super esoteric, this eclipse as well. And then 13 days later, we have the blood moon on November 8th. So not only do we have this Lilith black moon, and then we have the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in April, and then we have this eclipse in April, and then the May 15th blood moon, that's happening in Libra when the sun is in the Pleiades, and then we have this other eclipse, October 25th, and then the November blood moon. So I really think everything's pointing to this November 8th blood moon. I'm getting more and more 88 symbolism all over the place, which is 11 and 8 comes to 88, which is really 88 is the two paths, right? It's the two timelines. It's like two Mobius strips coming together, and you get to jump. It's like two realities coming together with two 8s, with two different infinities. Which one are you going to go on? So after this March 24th, 1766 inferior conjunction, Venus has to chase after the sun for exactly 263 days, and then she goes behind the sun in a superior conjunction, which is 50 days. So when she came out, she does another eclipse. It was January 29th, 1767. And the most important part about it is because it was happening on Capricorn. Okay, so Capricorn is the devil card. He's the keeper of the keys. He's the guy that rules this realm. It's also can be the she devil. Okay, so it's tying into many different things, but it's all to do with time, right? It's to do with being locked in time. So every 19 years, this eclipse would reappear in Capricorn, but they don't always happen on January 29th. The one in 1786 happened on January 30th, 1805 was January 30th, 1824 was January 30th, 1843, January 30th. You can see it, they're all down here until we get to 1919, it happened on January 31st. Then we had another one, January 31st in 1938. 1957, it happened on January 30th. 1976, it happened January 30th. In 1995, January 30th. And then it happened again in 2014, January 30th. So I'm like, okay, so, you know, it's not kind of bringing us to any date or anything. So I was just thinking about this. I was like, okay, that's the new moon. And then when I started looking into the black moon, which is the second moon that happens, right? It's like another moon that happens in January. They like to say it happens in February because sometimes it does. It isn't two moons in 1 month. It goes into February. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it ends up going from a January 1st new moon, and then it goes into January 31st new moon. Okay, so the cycles are interesting because when you have the two, it's just rare that you have this kind of moon getting back in that same constellation with another like eclipse. Okay, now they're not always eclipses because the moon sometimes isn't right on the ecliptic. When it's not right on the ecliptic, it's not considered to be an eclipse. Okay, but it's still there. It's still in Capricorn with the sun, and the black moon, the new moon is, you know, there. So this is how I mapped them out. So I went from the one on January 31st, which is tomorrow, and I went backwards every 19 years. And this brings us closer to the founding of the United States. It's, you know, just a year before. Now, if you notice with the numerology, January 30th comes to the number 13, right? It's the transformation house, you know, the way out of here. Scorpio Fucus. It's the way out through the constellations. Now, February 1st, which is the year of the beginning, first day of the year of the tiger this year, those numbers come to 21, which is the universe card, right? So I'm going, okay, but sometimes it's not on February 1st. So the one this year is January 31st. So it's kind of aligning with those other moons that are happening on January 31st in Capricorn. Okay, so there's kind of this weird cycle that happens when you get these black moons. It's so weird because it's like there's a chance for them to kind of go in these odd 8-year spans. So it's tying into the number 8, which is to do with Venus pentagram. It takes 8 years to make a Venus pentagram. So it's kind of weird. It's like there's this kind of funky thing going on with this second black moon, right? So anyhow, it's, you know, the one that's happening this year is a 131, when you could say 3 times 11 is 33, right? So you're getting this esoteric numerology again. But there's exactly 13 moons since the founding of the United States, which I find really fascinating. So here we have the first one, January 31st in 1775. And you can see the moon isn't quite on the ecliptic, so that's why it's not considered to be an eclipse. We have Bacchus there, Mercury, Venus, they're all there, all in Capricorn, right? So he's the keeper of time. He's the god of the golden age. So we know he's super important. And that's why they seem to line all the moons to this constellation. Now, Neptune, the Christ, is on Zavijava star. Mars is in Leo. Saturn is on Palmyra. So this is to do with being a hero. So just the fact that Neptune's on Zavijava, which is the other equatorial grid alignment with one of the cardinal points that comes out from the North Pole through exactly that location. So this is super important. Not to mention that Einstein discovered the speed of light on that star, right in that location. The heaven planet, Uranus, was right on the Pleiades, like right in the labyrinth. Jupiter was on your crown chakra, and also by the head of Sittis, which is the hand of God. That little paddle on his head there is known as the hand of God. So Jupiter was there. Osiris was also in conjunction with the Pleiades with Uranus. I can't pull them up at the same time. Solarium won't let me, but there it was right there. And of course, Pluto is in the same location as right now, right? Just starting to move into Capricorn. Okay, so this is the keeper of time. It's also, Pluto represents your soul and your ability to manage your shadow of your soul, the fear. Okay, so this is all to do with, being able to get the key from Capricorn. Capricorn holds the key. There is a bit of confusion when you start researching about the black moon. It says in early Sumerian mythology, Lilith was described as a handmaid to the goddess Inanna, queen of heaven, in which she would gather men in from the fields for sacred rites. There are also several other versions in both Sumerian and Hebrew mythology. In Hebrew, Lilith was intended to be Adam's first wife, but when he wanted to take a dominant rule over her in sex, she refused to submit to the role of submissive wife, distanced herself from Adam's authority, and left the Garden of Eden of her own accord. God sent 3 angels after her. Now, that's interesting because we have those 3 stars at the tail of the whale. It wouldn't surprise me if those are the 3 angels. However, she refused to return and was forever demonized as the fallen woman who gave birth to demons and stole babies from their beds. Okay, so that's the negative mythology that was put on her. So there are a great deal of confusion concerning the name Lilith in astrology, and this is because the name is used in several bodies. The black moon, an abstract geometrical point in space. And this is when you don't get a new moon in a month. Okay, so that can be considered a black moon. And then the dark moon purported to be Earth's second moon. So a second moon in 1 month is also known as a black moon or a Lilith moon. And then the asteroid Lilith. Okay, so Lilith is sometimes connected with the zodiac sign of Scorpio due to her dark sexual intent nature. Yeah, it's the 13th tarot card. That's why we're getting the number 13 all over the place. She doesn't suffer fools gladly. She represents the conscious decision to be alone and live outside polite society rather than surrender her dignity. Exactly what's happening right now. It's like you reject, this matrix and you live outside of it. Lilith involves the exercise of free will and conscious decision to forge her own path in life. The decision was forced on her to a certain extent, and is this accompanied by the anger and pain of rejection, which makes the healing process difficult. Yeah, but everybody in Canada is healing from this. So we're like, we don't mind what you do, but let us have a choice, and we want unity. We want the vaxxed and the unvaxxed to come together. The house and sign where Lilith is found in your chart denotes where you stand your ground with confidence and determination, but also where there is inability to let go gracefully and without bitterness. Lilith gives us the ability to make difficult decisions and follow them through with confidence. Okay, so this is really interesting. So some astrologers consider Lilith to be connected to the tree of life, where one can accept a deeper truth and greater wisdom. The contrasting energies of Lilith would be that of denial, in which a person would rather rely on their ego-fed knowledge. In general, Lilith may challenge individuals to connect with their instinctive passion for life, for if it is denied, this natural force can be quite troublesome or destructive. On a higher level, it may denote an embracing of your spiritual destiny, and as indicated by the sign, house position, and aspect. But this is really what was happening. This rally is so amazing. Nobody's angry. People are singing the anthem, people are singing, people are dancing, they're just saying freedom, and nobody's angry because you're not fighting anybody. You're just saying we want this respect to be able to choose, right? And it's not about anger. And we know anger is the media is going to turn it, and I think they did already try to do that a little bit and twist it, but it's, I really doubt if this rally will go negative because I just felt the energy of it and it's so patriotic. I've never seen this in Canada in my whole existence, except when I think Quebec was going to separate and there was a big, huge rally that came to Montreal, all Canadians saying, no, don't separate. And that was back in the 80s, right? So this is really amazing. It was just, and the sound of the horns, guys, the sound of the horns, it's God's trumpets, okay? It's so majestic to constantly hear the honking of the horns. It was like it went through your soul. It was just I have a little clip of the video when I was there and just the sound, and I'll never forget the sound. Yeah, so exactly from 1775 to 2022, like I said before, Pluto's orbit. Okay, so it's 247 years exactly, and that's Pluto's orbit. Lilith is represented with a snake wrapped around her. And when I was looking at the universe card, there you go. It's the same thing, right? And she has the sticks in her hand like the painting. So she is the universe card. She's saying if you want to step out of this realm, you have to reject it, right? You have to say, no, I'm not, I have my own sovereignty. I'm rejecting this. So this is the universe card. Now, the universe card, and everybody in the world is watching Canada right now, right? There's other countries that are doing the same thing and doing the convoys and stuff. So this is the universe card. We're at the beginning of the climb up the center of the Kabbalah tree. That's what's happening. It's the starting point. The universe card is represented by Saturn or Earth. Okay, so it's it can be the two together. Sometimes it's like looks like a black cube, and this is Saturn and Earth. So it's weird. They're saying like this January was the new moon, but then they're saying the next one is February 1st, so there's like two in February, but it's not. It's I checked it out. So this was January's. It was in Sag, right? And then it goes next constellation over for the end of January, so it brings it into Capricorn. This is just a long shot. You can see how the black moon isn't on the ecliptic. That's why it's not an eclipse. But then here's up close. You can see we have the Leonard comet, Saturn, the sun, right? And then the moon is there. So this is the only one. I went back and looked at all the 13 other black moons, and this is the only one with a Saturn conjunction. Okay, so Saturn's in its own house with a black moon, right? So this is the Malkuth. This is the beginning of the journey up the middle path. And there's Lilith. She's right between the V, right? V for vendetta. She's the vendetta. She's kind of like, she's like, no way, I'm not doing it, okay? And yeah, this is what we're experiencing right now. And that's the Malkuth. Now you can see you're trying to go right up the middle path to the Kether. And then the sixth is the sun. The Yesod is the moon. But what's interesting, David Bowie in Station to Station song, I said this once before, this is going up the Kabbalah tree. But he sang about the Malkuth and the Kether, the return of the thin white duke, right? So it's to do with the white goddess or the white man, whatever, throwing darts in lovers' eyes. Here are we, one magical moment. Such is the stuff. from where dreams are woven. We're dreaming about the new earth. That's what we were talking about when we were there. We're like, we're going to go into the new earth. We were talking about it. Bending sound, dredging the ocean, lost in my circle, tall in this room overlooking the ocean. Here are we, one magical movement from Kether to Malkuth. Now, when he performed it, when he said Kether to Malkuth, he pointed down and then up. And Kether is at the top and Malkuth is at the bottom. But it's like we have to flip upside down anyhow because we are upside down, right? Your root ball of your head is the root of the tree, and all your vagus nerves running through your body is the tree. So it's like we're upside down in an upside down world, right? So it's kind of weird. But anyhow, the whole thing is it's about this path, and this is the starting point of this Lilith black moon. It's the Malkuth moon, which is the universe card, which represents the Makuth. I was watching this interview about the law that they were presenting to the Parliament at Ottawa to submit the fact that the Métis law for the Native people of Canada has natural rights to the mineral resources of Canada. So because Queen Victoria never signed the charter, and they cannot find the document that she signed it, they've been looking for 50 years, it's never been found, the Crown of England doesn't really own the rights to our minerals. So because of that, they're trying to, set this law in motion. The judge knocked it down, and now they're appealing, but it has to go to the high courts. So this interview, I'll drop the link. Really fascinating because they were talking about the law, and then they also went in. The lady there in the glasses is talking about how this is all tying into the Bible because she's like tying it to the Bible, what's happening right now, that it's biblical. And I do believe these horns, these truck horns blowing, is the sound of the trumpets. And it's like heard all over the world because everybody's watching. So this represents the universe card as well. So I think that there's relevance to what they're saying here. It's like this is a lawyer, and he's also a Métis. And so I found it really fascinating. So you have to watch this video, and it explains exactly what they're doing. But he actually started talking on a sideline about the Kensington ruins and where they're located, and also the whole thing, how it's all tying into the Bible. Okay, so it's really interesting that the parallel line for where the Kensington ruin is on the same line as Ottawa, where this freedom rally is being held. And they're going to sit there for weeks. They're saying they're not moving. So it's going to be a showdown, basically, because Trudeau is not budging right now. He's left and he's gone to his cottage saying that he's in quarantine. So anyhow, it's going to be interesting, but I think it's all like, prophecy, just scripted out. But you want to, put your energies towards something that's positive, and that what they're saying is that we really have the rights to the land. It's not like done through the crown, and this would kind of take the power away from England owning the rights to Canadian land. So it's all very fascinating. But I want to so the fact that it's on the 45th parallel, and the 45 is, Trump was the 45th president, and then these numbers add up to 9. So this is 9 is the sacred number, so of enlightenment. So I think there's more relevance. The story is multi-layered and deeper than what we're seeing, but I know it has to do with history. It has to do with freedom. It has to do with the abuse that they've done to the Native people. It has to do with the sky, kind of playing out exactly to make these energies happen and to support what's happening. So it's really fascinating. It's interesting also that Montreal is on this line, and Montreal, the meaning is City of Mary. So it's all to do with the Virgin Mary, which is Virgo, right? And we have the big O there, which is the Olympic Stadium, and that's all tying into Capricorn as well. And they also had man in his world, big, huge event in 1967. People came all over the world. And they also had the Olympics in 1976, which is the year of the dragon. So, there's symbolism going along here with this Kensington ruin, I think is more powerful than what they're trying to let us believe it is. So here it's saying that the etymology in the Mohawk language is Mooney Yang, is a Ojibwe. So this is the first stopping place. It's to do with the seven fire prophecy. So we have to look into that, which I haven't done yet. And also the place where the nations and the rivers unite and divide. So this is all, going along on this 45th parallel. So I think this is really bringing back, the strength to the native people that are indigenous to the lands, right? So as they're tied to the minerals, they're tied DNA wise to the crystals that are underneath the ground. This is what Dan Winters explains, how, it's really important to stay in your native land because there's a connection to earth. You have a stronger vibration when you do that. These people that are immigrating and everything and getting uprooted, it shakes your root chakra. You're not as strong. So this is the hate we've been subjected to. They have no empathy for unvaccinated. We should die and all this. And then Trudeau, he ended up saying on French TV that we were misogynist, racist idiots. And that was like the last straw. And this is what caused this unity rally to come together. So here's two different clips from 1999 with Homer saying the convoy is beautiful. And they show, all the trucks going. And then another, I guess, episode, they had Trudeau freaking out and kind of, slithering out the window and down the wall. And that's basically what he did. He slithered away and, nobody knows where he is. So there's like GoFundMe for the truckers because they're losing their income because they're not allowed to cross the borders now. And there was over $25,000 donated under Trudeau's wife's name. So that was kind of hilarious. But people think it was Elon Musk. They say there's only like 10,000 people there, but it's more like 1 million. The whole city is crawling with people. And everybody was dancing in the streets and partying, and nobody's like being aggressive. They're trying to make it sound like there's white supremacists. I think a plane went by with a Nazi flag or something. The media, showed that because they're trying to make other people think that this is like a really negative group, right? But it's just people with their children and people like just everyday people, everyday Canadians just so fed up with what they've done to us and divided us and just made us feel like we're, evil people, well, misogynist, racist idiots. And so, it's really, people just can't take it anymore. The division. We're not used to division in Canada, so it's just like it's getting ridiculous. So people are standing up. So I ended up going to one of the exits to watch it, and you guys can watch the clip. And look at all the support we had from all over the world. Just people like expressing, they've got our backs and they're supporting us. And it's such an amazing feeling to feel that much support. I do believe we're being asked to step up and, put away your fears and put away the sense that you don't have a heart to actually have the compassion to kind of fight for freedom. And it's not a fight, actually. It's just kind of like standing in your space and saying, I'm not moving. You know, this is where my draw the line in the sand. And it's not about aggression. This is not about taking sides and getting stuck on the pillars. It's about trying to bring the two pillars together and show support for each other, and to start to show compassion in a real true sense. So it's inspiring. This really important black Lilith moon on January 31st is very, very significant to this whole story. Now, we have also this Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in April, and this is, I do believe, is going to be like the split of like everybody's going to be like kind of like in a fog and stuck with their beliefs. And you know, some people are going to want to be like metaphysical and kind of just get to this higher consciousness, and then other people are just going to be like really set on their beliefs, and they're trying to create this more division, right? And we have to like say no, no more to the division. Let's just have love. So it's exciting times. I think we got a lot to kind of live through this year. So I just want to say thank you, and thanks for all you guys sending me stuff. And I'll try to, you know, have to create a story to get everything aligned and matched. But either way, I appreciate you guys sharing. And I want to thank everybody that's taken a reading and supported me. And if you just like the Ascension Guide, there's lots of information in there that you can do and practice with your body, different habits and just, you know, things to do that you can get into a habitual way of keeping yourself on that state of bliss and keep pushing forward. And let's get through these very, very fascinating times. Bliss to you all. Thank you. Bye.